Doctor Who, The Curse of Fenric, the 11th story of the 7th Doctor, is written by Ian Briggs and starring Sylvester McCoy and Sophie Aldred. The title was originally called Wolf Time, then changed to Wolves of Fenric, as Fenric does refer to his servants as his wolves, and wolves play a strong role in Norse mythology, especially the monster Fenrir, although John Nathan Turner said that as a wolf's connection was not revealed until quite late in the story, the title would not make sense to the audience. However, there are several references in the story to the Norse belief in a final battle at the end of the world. The word Ragnarok was removed from the script to avoid confusion with the gods of Ragnarok from The Greatest Show in the Galaxy. This is some kind of second of the Ace trilogy where it explores her past before she met the Doctor. This was not intentional trilogy since Fenric was originally to start the season. Fenric was moved to third in the season because its horror themes were seen as more fitting for release in October. The story was originally to film a mixture of studio interiors and location exteriors, but after reading the script, Nicholas Mallet, who's the director of the story, persuaded Nathan Turner that given the settings involved, the serial could be more effective and realistic by shooting the entire production on location. It went over length to such a degree that consideration was briefly given to editing the story into the rather than 4 episodes. Although Ian Briggs strongly disagreed because of the feeling that the narrative flow would be badly disrupted, the setting was either Northumberland or near Whitby, North Yorkshire. However, Reverend Wainwright's mention of Dracula coming ashore there indicates the latter. The scenes were set in fictional location of Maiden's Point were shot on location Lulworth Cove in Dorset. The production also visited Kent and filmed at Lillisden Manor, which doubled as the laboratory under the church, Rose's Farm in Hawkhurst, which doubled as Mrs. Hardacre's cottage, and St. Lawrence's Church in Howhurst, which doubled as St. Jude's Church. So we get a brilliant opening with the music by Mark Ayres and soldiers on the paddle boats in the sea. I like the font, it has got a good style there. The Doctor and Ace arrived at Navy Base. Ace gets told she doesn't need to feel silly with the outfit due to what time they're on. So they visit to Dr. Judson. The Doctor recognises the prisoner's dilemma on a blackboard, which is interesting. Meanwhile, Soviets discovered the sole survivor of the other inflatable boat. As the Doctor and Ace went to church, Ace arranges the 2 girls, Phyllis and Jean, to meet her in the Maiden's Point. The Doctor and Ace examined the gravestone of Viking descendants. Ace got told by the Doctor not to go in the water, so Jean and Phyllis, against Hardacre's orders, met up with Ace in Maiden's Point and went in the water, despite the sign says it's dangerous. I like the Doctor's speech where he goes on a curse following the Vikings who came there carrying Oriental treasure. They wished to go back to the Northway, but the curse claimed their lives at Maiden's Bay. I also like the fact that the Doctor is like, oh no, I left Ace there, and then she walks back in, and the Doctor is like, oh thank God. After the Doctor gave Judson a 19th century translation of the Viking inscriptions, he and Ace went in a room full of schoolgirls. One of them has a baby called Audrey, which Ace hated because that's her mum's name. And we obviously find out that that's Ace's mum when she was an infant. Millington tells Kathleen to take Audrey off the base in 24 hours or being dismissed, which is horrible. Later on, the Doctor and Ace finds a soldier lying around who seemed to be dead at the rocks and found an item in his hand with an intense cliffhanger where they got held at gunpoint, but because they found out that the Doctor and Ace knew about their sealed orders, they get taken back to Sarin. Judson gets carried away from deciphering the new inscriptions by Crane, who finds the crypt too cold for invalid. The Doctor and Ace return to the crypt, noticing the new inscriptions, remembering the machinery Ace heard earlier. They look for a secret door but got caught by Millington, but then the Doctor makes an allusion to the well of Higelmij, where serpents spew their venom over the roots of Yggdrasil while men are mining toxins from a natural source, a chemical weapon to end the war. The Doctor and Millington went to Ultima and Ace had to stay behind because girls isn't allowed there, which I don't see why they're not allowed. It's a different time. Millington shows that the computer is bait for the Soviets, with a beaker of toxin hidden inside the machine, and a room with row on row of shells, and an isolation chamber to test the toxin. Milligan a vial inside the chamber, killing a cage of pigeons as a demonstration. Hardaka calls both the girls evil, and that they have black hearts for jumping in the sea. The bit where they went back in the water, but fully dressed this time, as the mist came in and they disappeared, is pretty grim. They showed up as vampires with long nails, which is pretty terrifying, and they invited a guy into the water like, "Come in for the manicure." Hardaka gets killed by two girls, and after they're about to kill Wainwright, the Doctor and Ace saved him.
Go!
We go. But we'll return for you, Wainwright.
They do plan to come back for him in the meantime, as the Doctor realises that as long as Judson does not solve the inscriptions, everything will be alright, but Ace warned him that he did. So they ran back into his office to stop the machine, but it wasn't working, while the Hemovoas rise up from the water, which looks pretty scary. Brilliant cliffhanger! My good friend Darren, who appeared in some of my videos, recalled being terrified by that scene when he was a kid, which I can see why. Watching it as a kid, you'd probably get nightmares. Sylvester McCoy is fantastic in this story. He's absolutely brilliant as the Seventh Doctor. I really love Sophie Aldred as Ace, as I've said before. Dinsdale Landon plays Dr. Judson, a mathematician who works on the Ultima project in World War II and gets possessed by Fenric. I think he's brilliant. Fenric, aka Hoster, the Unspeakable, Abu Fenron, the Wolf, and Sahunga are an immensely powerful sentient force that was at least as old as the universe itself. They're later known as the Great Old One. I love the concept. I'd love to see more of them. Hemovoas, aka Homo Hemovorics, are vampiric humanoids that serves Fenric. I love those monsters. They're so cool and scary. I'd love to see them return. Raymond Trickett played Injiga, aka the Ancient One, the last of the original Hemovors. After its children had died from the pollution. I thought he's pretty cool. I'm pretty sad what happened. Alfred Lynch plays Commander A.H. Millington, the Royal Navy officer in command of a military code breaking facility near Maiden's Point, Northumberland, in my hometown. During World War II, he does a fantastic job. Nicholas Parsons plays the Reverend Mr. Wainwright, the vicar of St. Jude's Church. He's likeable. Corey Pullman plays Kathleen Dudman, Ace's grandmother, who works as a radio operator at the British Army base. Aaron Hanley plays baby Audrey Dudman, Ace's mum. Great characters. I love the idea that Ace's young mum and grandma are in this. Stephen Rimkus and Marcus Hutton plays Captain Bates and Sergeant Lee, British Royal Marines officers. They're great. I like the characters. Tom McBorg plays Captain Sorin, the leader of the Red Army. He's great too. And so is Peter Zajkowski as Sergeant Prozorov, a Russian soldier. Kristen Anholt plays Perkins, a soldier in the Royal Marines. Anne Reid plays Crane, Dr. Judson's nurse. She later played Florence Finnegan in Smith & Jones, which is cool. Joan Kenny and Joanne Bell plays Jean and Phyllis, who are best friends. They are evacuees from London living with Mrs. Hardacre and later got turned into vampires. Janet Henfrey plays Miss Hardacre, the Guardian. Marek Anton plays Vershinin, a Soviet soldier, and Mark Conrad plays Pedrosian, a Russian soldier. The casts are spot on. The set effects and direction by Nicholas Mallet are fantastic. Plus, John Nathan Turner is also an credited director in the story. Either way, the direction is spot on. The music by Mark Ayres is incredible. It's a great fitting. It does feel like a modern era. So the Doctor mentions that the base's defense have been weakened because Millington wanted the Soviets to steal the machine, and reinforcements cannot be called for because the transmitters have been disabled. And he also mentions that the vampires are really Hemovors. The bit where everyone is in the church and Hemovors breaking in was so suspenseful, so intense. Ace was about to be killed, but thankfully Wainwright got his faith back and scared the Hemovors off for a time being. I like the fact that a soldier uses faith in the revolution protecting him so he can walk past herbivores like it was nothing. After blowing up sealed tunnels with Ace Nitro 9, they discovered the treasure they've been searching for, whilst Millington is placing Soreen under arrest and Ace supporting Kathleen as her husband died in the sea. Wainwright gets killed, which is really sad because I really like this guy. We get an awesome moment where Ace confronts the Doctor, wanting to know what he knows and complaining that he always seems to know but just wouldn't tell anyone. Like it's a game that only he knows the rules too. The Doctor tells Ace about an ancient evil that has existed since the birth of the universe. Fenric is just Millington's name for it and is trapped in the flask. The Doctor and Ace quickly ran back in Judson's office. After Judson gets electrocuted and falls off his wheelchair, they thought Fenric has got Millington, but it actually got Judson, as he got up saying they play the contest again.
We play the contest again. Time Lord.
What a cliffhanger! So according to Fenric, who possessed Judson, he trapped the Doctor in a shadow dimension since the 3rd century, but now he has the body again and the preparation are complete, so Fenric/Judson appears in tunnels meeting herbivores and asking them to fetch them the Ancient One. At the bay, the herbivores perform the summoning and the Ancient One Millington gets shot by Vershnin for joining Fenric and shooting Bates. Sadly, Judson got herbivores to kill his nurse. As Fenric possessed Soreen, he tells her that the baby, Audrey, is Ace's mother, which gives her anger. The Doctor had to make Ace lose faith in him by telling Soreen to kill her. I was like, whoa! The acting is phenomenal. So instead, Ancient One got himself and Soreen inside a tank and got themselves gassed with poison. The Doctor explained why he had to get Ace to lose faith, to allow the Ancient One to act, and what he said he didn't mean to. In the end, Ace wonders why she cannot stop hating her mum and dives into the water.
I didn't know she was my mum!
Love and hate. Frightening feeling.
No longer scared of the water. This is a fantastic story. I get goosebumps. What did you think of the Curse of Fenric? Let me know in the comments down below. We got survival to do next. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.